everybody. My name is Melanie Yates. Today, we're going to talk about an introduction to tapping. EFT, emotion freedom technique, is a way that we can calm the central nervous system, especially when we are changing. So if you're in this program, that means that you have invested in yourself to change. And the funny thing about that is, as I'm getting ready to prepare this presentation for you, I am having my own growing pains with a conversation that needs to happen that I have been pushing down and I'm afraid to have because I'm worried about what the other person is going to think. All those feelings of rejection and abandonment and fear of the unknown are coming to the surface. And it literally, those emotions are causing me to feel paralyzed. Now, something to kind of know a little bit about me is that I am transitioning in my hormonal status. So I'm definitely going from perimenopause into menopause. I have ADD. I have a new marriage. My son is a senior in high school. There's a lot of change coming, and I am recognizing these places that I want to continue to grow. And when you're willing to continue, be prepared for that zone of growing pains where you don't want to be too much or too little. It's called the sweet spot. But what happens is I even avoid the sweet spot because I don't want to feel any uncomfortability. So what I have found is tapping is just one tool. It's one resource to help lower the intensity of an emotion so that I can keep moving in the direction I am going. So I am looking forward to processing with tapping. So right now I'm just gonna go through just a little bit about what tapping is all about. So I just love this because I really believe that tapping can stop your people pleasing. And so that's what we are gonna practice. So why I want to change and I can't. So who is running the show? My emotions right now are all over the place. And I really have felt like my emotions are hurting me because it makes it so that I don't want to move forward. It makes me feel like I'm paralyzed. I've had a lot of crying. I've had a lot of anger. And I believe emotions are signals. So what happens is these emotions and feelings program a pattern, and I get used to that pattern in my life. And that pattern gives me a result. So when I'm ready to change, I have to manage my emotions. Otherwise, they will keep me from moving forward because change can feel scary and it stirs up all that stuff that I have done so well at pushing down, right? So we need that sweet spot, not too much, not too little. We're going to practice helping our mind feel safe so that we can keep moving forward. So I believe feelings are signals. They are not facts, and they give us information. Our feelings are telling us what they need. And when we start uncovering what really is underneath our need to people please, we realize that I am looking for love in the wrong places. I'm looking for approval and validation in the wrong place. And that really the best thing I can do is take care of myself. And part of the reason why you're here is you're ready to start putting yourself first. So nothing stays the same. I want to assure you that. Even if you're in the most pain you've felt, I promise that nothing stays the same. Everything keeps changing. So there is a solution for calming the brain, even when your feelings are intense. So I just want you to think of some of these questions that have come up previously in Sarah's webinars. And this is probably some questions or things that have come up for you already. So, what do I do with all the overwhelming feelings this is bringing up? Just looking at what my needs and desires are, how I envision a healthy marriage or a relationship with somebody I love that is better than it currently is. Like sometimes our mind is like can't even let us in to even visualize that because of overwhelming feelings. So what do I do? Well, Sarah is walking you through the tools and resources you have to apply in the relationships you're in. My job today is to help you understand how to manage the feelings that gets brought up with the work that you are doing. Congratulations, by the way. I can't tell you how happy I am for you and for me, because this means we're continuing to invest in growth and learning. And ultimately, my mission is to love one another. And the only way I can possibly attempt to do that is by loving myself first and really understanding what that means. So the next thing is I've already started thinking about how I can talk to my husband or family member or friend or client, whoever it is. And I'm not sure he is going to respond well. What happens then? I have to continue to manage my emotions. And I know that this question, even for me, I like to jump ahead, right? Like you might not even have the next indicated step to work on, and your mind is going to fill in the blanks and it's trying to protect you and it's trying to keep you safe. And so it's going to try to move things forward and future trip about thinking about how I can fix this people pleasing. And I know Sarah would agree with me that it is a process, it is a journey. And no matter how long you work on it, you get to keep practicing. And that's another reason why we're all here is to keep moving and growing and learning, especially if you want to. We all have choices. And so um and how soon should this get easier? Again, it's not a quick fix. So I'm just going to keep reminding you that we're working on how to adjust to all of these feelings that are coming up. And really, I just don't want the feelings to be making your decisions and the feelings to dictate what's going to happen next. So it's really important to manage our feelings as they come up, as we're doing this work, as we're changing. So, what is EFT? It's also known as tapping. EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. We get to free ourselves from emotional bondage, right? It's a powerful stress relief technique. Tapping is based on the combined principles of ancient Chinese acupuncture and acupressure without needles and modern psychology. So I love that Western medicine approves of acupuncture, and it, even though it is Eastern medicine, Western medicine has acknowledged it works. So all this is a basic tapping technique requiring you to focus on a negative emotion and so like a worry or a fear, okay? So you're trying to pull up and actually embrace the negativity. And some people will say, well, I don't want to think of that. But the problem is it comes up anyway. And so we're using this to actually calm the central nervous system. So a lot of people these days are having depression and anxiety and panic attacks. Even recently, I got to feel what a anxiety chest pain feels like. It's not a heart attack, it's brought on by anxiety and it's chest pain. And our body has a way of protecting us. So you may even feel physical symptoms from feelings. And so all we're doing, the best thing that we can do for ourselves is to actually admit where we are. And we can't release the feelings if we're pushing them down. See, I like to suppress and push it down. And I'll do that all kinds of ways. I'll distract myself, I'll eat, I'll create drama in other areas of my life so that I don't have to deal with feeling. So this is just admitting where I am, and it's also like a pressure cooker because I can keep pushing down, but eventually it's going to come out in the most unpredictable way. Like when I really don't want it to come out, it's going to come out. And it could be in a body language, it could be in a tone. It's like, ooh, where did that come from? That just snuck out. And it's basically, a pressure cooker where it's just trying to let a little of that steam out. So this is another way of doing that so that you're acknowledging where you are and releasing it. So what we're going to do, and I'm going to kind of go through some of these points, but these are just some of the points on our face that we're going to be tapping on. And that's all we're doing. We're talking and tapping. It's that easy. Why I need tapping? So tapping on these points while you think about what's causing you stress helps your mind understand that you are not in any physical danger and it's safe to relax, reducing cortisol levels. Just imagine if you weren't afraid what you could say and do. If you actually felt confident and loved, what could you say? Resentment or people pleasing? So, my situation right now that I'm in, I have pushed down some feelings and I've pushed down some thoughts because there is this part of me that still wants to be a good girl. And what happens, and I love that Brene Brown says it, a resentment is an emotion that we often experience when we fail to set boundaries. I love that because I can take responsibility for that. I have this emotion because I let someone else treat me a certain way. So I love that she's saying, I feel this resentment because I have failed to set boundaries. And this is not to make me feel bad. It just helps me acknowledge and take responsibility for my part because everybody plays a role. And I have no power to manage or control or fix or change anyone else. So I have to focus on me. So it's an emotion that we often experience when we fail to set boundaries, ask for what we need, or when expectations let us down. because they were based on things we can't control, like what other people think, why they feel, or how they're going to react. Woo! That is why I will people please, and that is why I will be angry after I do it. Why I need tapping. I will self-sabotage. My emotions will be so intense, they will take over, and I will revert back to sabotaging any change or movement forward. And so this is just one tool. Tapping is a tool to help manage the emotions so that I can get better at not self-sabotaging, not being in the bondage of self. So these are just, maybe you relate to some of these. These are just some of the ones that I came up with. I don't really know what I want. Even right now, I feel a little confused about what to say because there's so many things I want to say that I lose track of even what my desire is or what I want. And maybe not believing I can have it. So why bother? I kind of give up, or I have this passive aggressive behavior, old thinking and programs. So I'll revert back to what I learned in childhood, or I'll revert back to other relationships I've had in the past that are familiar, that I know the role. I know how to play this role. I know the lines, so to speak. Emotions that don't match my goal. So I can get sidetracked or distracted with feelings that come up, and then I get confused or lost about my goal and the direction I'm headed. So I'm sure we can all laugh about mood and how it feels to be around me. My mood, I mean, even how I feel around me is a reason why I want to tap, because I need to calm my central service nervous system down. Otherwise, I don't even want to be around me. So we're just going to keep going down, not willing to receive the goal in my life. Like maybe I really don't believe, like maybe in my head, I know I want it, but my heart, it's 18 inches from my head to my heart, and it hasn't sunk down. But as you continue in this program, I promise you that as you keep doing the next indicated step, somehow it does. It goes from your head to your heart, and our hearts are what really help us change behavior and make it more automatic. So at first it's more logical, and then we start believing that we can change, that we can do this. So not letting the goal in, I don't have my own back. I think others can take better care of me than I can. Emotions keeping me stuck doing the same thing. Why feeling safe changes everything. I feel afraid to have this conversation because I don't want to be um, labeled as nagging or bitchy or overbearing or even emotional. I have tried to play this role like I'm a tough girl, but I'm really nice. I mean, yeah. So I love what Sarah tells me. I had classic people pleaser brain, stuck between wanting to belong and be connected and also wanting to be independent and free, not knowing how to get both. So we get stuck because we're programmed to be good girls and say what good girls need to say, and that no one teaches us how to tolerate the discomfort of not people pleasing. Both of those reasons why we get stuck have emotions attached to it. So emotions get stuck with thoughts and facts. So if you have facts and emotions tangled together, I kind of think of it like a yarn, like two different colors of yarn, and they're all tangled up together. And what we're trying to do is restore them to be separated so that I have my blue ball of yarn and my red ball of yarn separated. And that's what I believe tapping does. It helps us separate the emotions from the facts because I can't take away what the facts are, but I can release the emotion so that I can better handle the facts. It's kind of like reading a textbook. When you read a history book, I mean, you could get triggered, but for the most part, even when you read something sad, there's there's a difference between being tangled up in the facts and in the emotion or reading a history book. You can't change that something is sad or it's too bad that that happened, but it's just the facts. And so that's what we want to do with past experiences. Tapping is a benefit for so many things, but PTSD is one of them because that's when the facts and the emotions get tangled up. And what tapping can do is isolate what the facts are, can't change them, can't make you forget, but we can pull the emotions out and release them. These are the EFT tapping points. So where it says number 8, I just tap on the top of my head. 1 is on the eyebrow. And as we're tapping in class, I am going to call these out because if you are able to close your eyes and really focus on the words and the event or the conversation that needs to be said, that's going to help your mind get into it more and release it easier. So as we're tapping, I'll say eyebrow, temple, under the eye, under the nose, under the mouth. Now this one, the number 4 and 5 is above the lip and under the lip, but I just make a C with my hand, and then I just lightly tap like this. So I'm so used to saying this. So if I do say a C around your mouth, this is what I'm talking about. So this is a tapping point. It's just so that you're getting 2 points at once. That's all. The collarbone, you can use both hands anywhere on the collarbone or if you start feeling around right here, you might feel some tender points. And if you're feeling anxious anytime during the day, you could just kind of poke around on your chest and take some deep breaths. And that is an acupressure point. So those are really good. Number 7 on this chart is referring to the side of your body right here underneath your armpit. And so I just take my hand and I just lightly tap like this. So that is 1 point. Right here is the karate chop point. The one on the picture, number 9, is between the 5th and 4th finger right here. So that's where it's pointing to on this diagram. Okay, so how it works. All of these are meridian points. So we're sending calming signals to the brain when we're tapping on these points. Another point that I like is on the belly. So I will just like tap like this on my belly. I may or may not use that one in class, but your liver is on your right side, and sometimes just lightly tapping, especially if you're angry. I like that meridian point. So again, we're calming the central nervous system. We're letting your brain know it's safe, because that's how we're going to rewire our brain to make a new connection, a new behavior, a new result. And so the term neuroplasticity is actually that the brain is like plastic. We can actually mold it and change it. Like, you can change. Um, it's amazing what they have done and proved, and evidence-based research that shows you can change. Your brain can be changed. And tapping, along with meditation, has been proven to actually change the dynamic of your brain. It can actually heal your brain. So it's so exciting. So when I think about changing new behavior, I get freaked out. I have anxiety. I'm afraid. I don't know what's going to happen. So the amygdala part of the brain is responsible for triggering that stress response in our body, and it releases the hormone cortisol into the bloodstream. And the problem is, we tend to have our amygdala in charge way more often than we want. So um, we have to actively take charge of that. So once we've done a couple of tapping rounds and you're feeling more calm, that negative feeling is lower, we bring in the positive. So this approach is different from traditional positive thinking or affirmations. You're not being dishonest with yourself. You're not trying to obscure the stress and anxiety inside yourself with, you know, an insincere thought. Or that one that just doesn't match. If I say, I'm such a successful rich person, your mind's like, I just looked at your banking account and that's not true. And so your mind, and especially that part of your mind that's been programmed to be like, that's not true, you're a liar, like, it fights. um this is a way to rewire and program and direct our thinking, not just blanket statements. And also, they've proven that body language and tone, also, when we use those two together with our voice, which we are going to do with tapping, we are more senses and more neurons in the brain are being activated, and it actually helps us change faster. So you're confronting and dealing with the anxiety, its corresponding negative emotions, releasing them, and then offering deep, complete acceptance to both your feelings and yourself. So it's a way to really acknowledge yourself, and a way to be honest with yourself. It's a way of letting go. And, once you create room by letting go of negative emotions, then there's room there. We're making room for positive direction and affirmations. So, kind of like the same way you need to weed a garden before you plant seeds, you have to release the intensity of what you're feeling before more empowering thoughts can take root. That's why tapping is so much more effective than just having a blanket positive thinking technique, which I'm sure most of you have already tried. So, here are some positive phrases. You can come up with your own. One of the ones I really like is, I relax and take it easy. I have faith in my ability to change. I'm joyful about these positive changes. I am accomplishing so much. I have courage to have this conversation. I'm ready to change. I am becoming a more relaxed and joyful person. Like, and you can come up with some phrases you want to wire into your brain, especially after you start doing some of these tools and writing exercises that Sarah is going to have you do in your program. You can't do it wrong. So sometimes people get freaked out that they're going to do the tapping wrong. You can't do it wrong. You cannot do it wrong. You're touching yourself, you're not hurting yourself. I love this. Okay. Um, Now, one of the reasons that it might not work is because you don't do it, right? So you have to practice this, just like meditation. You can get a lot out of meditation if you do it once in a while, but the lasting effect um is when you develop a practice where you meditate every day. And you don't have to meditate for a long time. Like, I have gone from 20 minutes of meditation to 5 minutes of meditation, depending on how busy my schedule is. I make it work for me. But what I try to do is be consistent. And that's the same with tapping. If you can build in a tapping practice to manage your feelings, that whether you were doing this work or not, you everybody needs to manage their emotions. Um, so you don't have to tap hard. Sometimes I wanted to mention, we always rate the intensity of our emotion when we start. So let's say, you know, I feel overwhelmed with a conversation I need to have. Like, I can tell I'm overwhelmed, and there's a lot of fear and anger because my throat actually hurts and I'm not sick. So I get physical signs that I'm afraid. I've understood now that it's just my body protecting me. But you might get when you feel really afraid or anxious, you might feel it in your chest, you might feel it in your belly, you want to throw up, you don't feel like eating, or you want to eat a lot. There's all these different ways our body gives us signals that we're afraid or we're anxious or we're overwhelmed. So if you wanted to start tracking what emotion you feel and the intensity of it, that's going to really help you, because what I've noticed is that sometimes people don't know how to rate their intensity. So I'll say right now, for me, I have a conversation that needs to be said. I have avoided it for 4 days. Um, and I've been trying to like let some of these emotions come out, and I've been using my tools. I've been writing, I've been seeking outside help, I've been tapping, I've been meditating, I've been praying. There's these things that I do when I'm getting these signals. Um, but I would say, and even it's waking me up in the middle of the night. So I would say my intensity is a 10. Like, overwhelm is at a 10. Fear might be at an 8. Procrastination, 10. I've waited 4 days. I'm avoiding this person. So I want to acknowledge the negative emotions, and the better I can get at articulating what the emotion is I'm feeling, and then from a 1 to 10, a scale, I want you to rate the intensity, 10 being the highest, 1 being low. Uh, so I need to know where I'm starting before we start tapping, because then I can see if it's working or not. So if it isn't working, I can do a little bit of problem solving. Sometimes we aren't willing to bring up we might be so guarded that we won't want to bring the feeling up. So sometimes by um, really getting into the statement with our tone and body language can help stir the emotion to the surface so I can actually feel it. Um, it you can't do it wrong, and whatever happens is not wrong. It's all good information. And so if you have a number and then we tap and it goes up, stays the same or lower, that is just feedback. And any intensity that goes lower, you're headed in the right direction. If it goes higher, that's good information because it means you're really feeling it. So there's nothing wrong with that either. Everything changes when you begin to love yourself. You no longer send out energy of desperation or need to be filled from the outside. You become a powerful source within yourself that attracts better. The more you love who you are, the less you seek validation and approval. This would be like my mantra for me personally of why I'm inspired to speak up and be more true to myself. I do want to love myself more. And I feel like by loving myself, the more I keep walking forward in this journey, the more I am able to speak up and stand up and not be so worried about what other people are going to think, do, or act. So we already went through the tapping points. There has been many studies showing the effectiveness of tapping. My favorite one is that you can actually alter brain activity. You can restore brain activity and actually heal parts of the brain the way that they do with meditation. Um, it's so exciting. Um, Okay, so I'm just gonna go back here. The bottom line is that I really want everyone to know um, that you're in the right place. Like you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And I think of the the main thing with tapping is that it's regulates the nervous system, it boosts the immune system, it calms the brain, it boosts brain power, it eliminates stress and anxiety. It's not a quick fix because you have to do it. It is not a pill you can swallow, but I will guarantee that whenever I remember to tap, whenever I do the tapping, it is the closest to a quick fix that you can get to calm your nervous system. And just like taking a walk is a way to integrate your brain, so is tapping. So there's been so many studies about the decrease in cortisol. Um, Stress is linked to anxiety, weight gain, sleep problems, lack of motivation, chronic pain, stomach issues, and depression. Do you think any of those affect standing up for ourselves and our relationships? Yes. So it's been proven to lower stress and cortisol and improve sleep and reduce anxiety and relieve physical and emotional pain, increase productivity, and so much more. It even helps with food cravings. Because think about it, most of the time when we are eating, we're eating for other reasons than just nutrients, right? I know when I have donuts, that that makes me feel different. I am looking to feel different when I eat donuts. I'm looking to feel better. So we always start a tapping session with the karate chop point, which is right here. And you're going to repeat the setup statement 3 times. And I'm going to do this with you. And you can look it up online. There's so many cool scripts out there. And you're going to begin tapping while focusing on how you feel or on the problem. And when you feel better, then we move into the power statements. So taking care of ourselves is the most important thing I want you to take away from today. And I am looking forward to helping you do this. And I appreciate you. I can't wait to congratulate you on your milestones and conversations that you have the courage and the techniques to start having.